Hiya, I'm Azaman, and I want to talk about Misao because when I was a little kid, Markiplier uploaded this video, and it scared me so badly that I played it myself and fell in love with RPG Maker horror games. Cut to now where I'm a grizzled old college student, and I just found out that last month, in mid-August, Misao got a complete remaster slash remake. So it's as good a time as any to play Misao at least 4 separate times. Because today I am going to take you through several different versions of Misao. Starting with the 2024 remaster, then the 2017 definitive edition, then Misao 3.0 version from I think 2014, and lastly we'll cap things up with a look at the first 2 versions, and the amazing differences when you play as a male protagonist. All that preamble out of the way, let's dive in... No, not yet. One more thing. In this particular installment of Azaman Plays a Thing, I'm joined by my 2 friends Dolly and Maya, who you might occasionally hear. So let's dive into the 2024 remaster, where upon starting the game we must choose our protagonist, who shall be the girl. Why? One reason. She's funny. For name, we naturally go with Sky.
Sky, exclamation point, space, colon, 3.
Oh, that's better, that's better.
Oh my god, I don't like it here.
Yeah, that's our protagonist, Sky. I'll call her Sky for short. So, Sky wakes up from a recurring dream she's been having, one where the voice of Misao, a missing girl, calls out to be found. When Sky wakes up, she gets ready for school and expositions that Misao was a quiet, polite girl who never really stood out. In fact, she and Sky weren't really friends. But they weren't complete strangers to each other. Sky wanted to be friends, but never got around to it, as 3 months ago, Misao went missing. She never arrived home and no one could explain what happened, so it was a complete mystery, sparking a rumor that she died. We follow Sky to class where we are introduced to the game's main cast, starting up with our apparently very handsome teacher, Mr. Kurata. Truthfully, he looks a bit boring. Then we have Ayaka, Sky's bestie, who is bubbly, energetic, and in love with Mr. Kurata. Word on the street is that Kurata's got a hand fetish, and that is hot. Ayaka thinks it's hot. In my opinion, I think she's fairly normal about it. I still remember some girls in high school who were down bad for our science teacher, and Mr. Clean because they look similar. She wanted to be run over by his car and then have him stick a spoon. Where was I? Oh yeah, the blondie here is Toma, the cool stupid bro who apparently has Doriz. Sky is low-key into him. Then we got Yoshino, pink-haired girl. She is the worst. You can tell because, as my friend Dolly says,
Anytime they give a woman in an anime art style game short hair and small pupils, she is amazing.
but what you gotta know is Yoshino, she's a meanie, and is followed by the greenie, Kudo. He's kinda just here, bit of a sleepy, somewhat sad guy. Lastly, we got Satome. She's a bit of an airhead, and this was my reaction upon seeing her. What is wrong with her? What is wrong with her eyes? that she is a product of hundreds of years of anime girl breeding. She is a nice person though. This normal day is then cut off as the restless spirits of Misao launch a spiritual attack on the school, unleashing monsters and demons into the hall, throwing the entire school into a hell dimension while screaming at Sky.
Find me!
Losing consciousness, Sky wakes up several hours later, where she picks herself up and looks around the classroom to find Yoshino, curled up in the corner, who runs away screaming when approached. Following her, we see Toma and his girlfriend Satomi fleeing from something. But they're cowards and Sky is based. She walks to the right and sees Misao. We found her. Oh god, we found her. Girl walking her way away, Sky finds Kudo, who talks like he's the protagonist. It's my fault. I need to do something. Wait for me, Misao. I'll definitely find you. And man walks his way out. We don't follow and keep going left where we find Misao. And this time we give chase, and kinda sorta get ooflamoud while Aya screams. Thankfully though, Sky had a red-eyed stranger looking out for her and she comes to in the student council office. Somehow she fell in here. Here we meet the game's final cast members. The student council president Onigawara, who definitely isn't human and knows way too much, immediately identifying that the school is under the effect of a powerful curse by the spirit of the deceased Misao. He is then interrupted by his vice prez, Little Miss Library, who exclaims that the school is full of monsters. She saw one kill a student and no longer wants to eat hamburgers. She then dips and might as well have hit the gritty with how fast she was speedrunning the conversation. Onigawara continues and tells Sky that she's the only one who can stop the curse by doing what Misao wants, that being to find her. And so, Sky sets out to find Misao's belongings, of which there are 6. These are scattered across the school, and Sky has to find them through exploration, interacting with other characters, and solving roundabout mysteries. You got that? Good. Sky's journey begins by heading to the principal's office, where via a note we learn that the school's emergency exit has fallen into a vase of roses. Naturally, Sky goes to pick up the key and instantly dies. Remember, this game is from the early 2010s. Creative instant deaths were all the rage, and Misao is no different, so expect the blood of a lot, and I mean a lot of Skies. Next life, instead of dying from Anthraphobia's worst nightmare, I have her hit up the roof, pick up some seeds, and then take a dive right into a toilet. Redux later, we have seeds and head into a classroom to take a seat. That's another death.
Oh, nope.
Oh, I don't fuck with that.
Would you believe me if I told you I'm sitting at a desk right now?
This might be starting to get old, so I'm gonna speed past the rest of my deaths unless I think one is particularly creative or funny. With another life, Sky heads to the computer room where he finds Satomi and Toma, who have somehow gotten separated by a gap in the floor. Maybe it broke away when they walked over it, like that one scene in 2012. But more pressingly, there's kind of sort of a zombie crawling towards Satomi. Naturally, her boyfriend employs a classic JoJo technique by running away. So it's up to Sky to save the girl. We panic for a bit, decide to abandon her, and hey, look, a fire extinguisher. With this, we can certainly kill a ghost, maybe even get a party member. Oh hey, she's dead. We still ganked the zombie by freezing it. I think maybe fire extinguishers in Japan are just full of liquid nitrogen? I think I read that at some point. Doesn't really matter though, since Satomi's dead, but maybe there's something helpful in this room. 2 computers are on after all. The pink computer shows a scene of the past, back when Misao was alive. Misao's getting picked on for having a crush on the heroic Toma by Yoshino. However, this meanness ends up on a good note, as Toma says he's also down bad for Misao and the pair becomes an item. So good for her. No, because within a few days she is shortly there publicly humiliated, as her private messages to Toma are displayed for all to see, including a rather embarrassing poem. I love you so much, I love you lots, my heart melts like chocolate when you cross my thoughts. It's cute, but a little funny, so I can see why they laughed at her. Though it's the kind of thing that would get a laugh for a few days and then blow over, which Misao herself knows and doesn't let get to her. However, as she's walking away, she peers into an empty classroom and sees Toma getting pretty hands-on with Satome. Satome, who reveals that she swiped Toma's phone when he wasn't looking and put Misao's text for everyone to see. Yeah, Satome wasn't a very nice person, and Misao cries watching them. The memory comes to an end. As for the second computer, it's a security system that needs a CD-ROM to unlock it, so nothing to do here until we find a disc. Sky heads out towards the art room with some paint ripe for use, but my friends and I are too stupid to use this room, so we quickly dip, head downstairs, and arrive in the library, where we encounter Miss Library herself, who quickly asks if we want to be besties. I decided no, because that's a bit of a strong word, and we already have a Yaka. However, I am then informed that words can indeed hurt.
I see.
Then die.
Lesson learned. We revive and agree to be besties. But library is kind of an awkward name, so let's rename her. I decide to go with Aya, but for mad father reasons, we aren't allowed to, so I fall back on my friends Dolly and Maya, who creatively dub her is girl.
Wait, no. A girl.
Okay.
No space. No space. A girl.
No, we need the space there, otherwise it's a girl.
A
And
girl.
make the G lowercase so it just looks 6% in. And then get rid of the
girl.
break.
You know, yeah, I like this more. Yeah, I like this more.
Is girl really spelled like that? Christ, that's a horrible way to spell a word.
What do you, it's on the web. Yes, a girl. Now, as besties, we have the power and privilege to break into her bedroom, look at some references, and hey, a potted plant. Perfect place to inject our seed. We'll be back later, they need some time to grow. And we got places to be, like Class 2B with this wonderful ASMR sound.
Or it's in that locker. Trying to get it out. Sure!
The artist is actually in the back, locked in his recording studio, and wouldn't you know, it's actually our trustworthy teacher, Mr. Kurata. But he's far too alpha and sigma to talk to a mere girl like Sky, so he leaves without really acknowledging us. He did drop this locker key though, so we got something out of it. We head out of class, down the hall, and find a laboratory in the school for some reason. Oh hey, CD-ROM in hand, we head down to the first floor, reasoning that we might as well finish exploring the school before using it. And nothing really happens. We find Onigawara at the entrance, trying to build a bit more of a horror atmosphere. We go to the nurse's office, find a few deaths in there. We go to the cafeteria, see a soda machine, a blender, and become a nice meal. I think a girl enjoyed it. On the first floor, there's also the teacher's office where our old bestie, Ayaka, is, seemingly oblivious to the whole school is in a hell dimension thing. She's more focused on sifting through Mr. Kurata's desk, which is full of love letters he gets from students. Which, as a future educator, I gotta say that those are not things a teacher should just be storing. We abandon Ayaka as she's unwilling to come with us and go look at the staff locker room. The key that Kurata dropped works on the locker at the end, and inside is some random broken phone. Taking it, we decide to wash it off in the bathroom, and I naturally gravitate towards the men's room and have Sky walk in there. Where, hey, we found something close to him, man. Toma is in the back stall, scared out of his mind, weeping like a baby, which, yeah, that's the most reasonable reaction any person should have to this entire situation. Sky tells him to pull himself together as he literally left his girlfriend Satomi to die, and things are only gonna get worse. Reluctantly, he mans up a little and decides to travel with us. New party member unlocked. So our duo heads outside and the door shuts before Toma could exit. A bit of a loud kerfuffle is heard. When we walk back into the bathroom, Toma's kinda sorta been got. He's not dead, he's still alive, but we need to find a safe place for him to recover. Hoisting him into our inventory, Sky decides to try the nurse's office, which already seems to be in use. Ayaka and Mr. Kurata are here, but Ayaka looks quite shaken. Kurata explains that Ayaka was attacked by monsters, but he managed to help her escape, though she's been overcome by panic ever since. Naturally, Sky chastises Ayaka for being a bit dumb and not coming with her, which is kinda funny since at this moment, Sky is carrying a bloodied and injured Toma on her back. Not exactly a great example of what happens when you follow Sky, but oh well. Before we leave, Kurata asks Sky to go to his desk and pick up a tranquilizer that he keeps in there for some reason. We're just gonna gloss over that. Something Japanese high school mistranslation, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it's normal. It's too awkward to request to say no, so us and Toma's corpse head out to grab the tranquilizer, which thankfully isn't there. So instead of heading right back, Sky takes a detour out back to get some fresh air. Just breathe in and out. Take some time to stop and smell the gravestones. Frick. Sky heads back to the nurse's office, and she's dead. Ayaka is dead, while Mr. Kurata is injured. He explains that while we were gone, the monsters came back and killed Ayaka, and attacked him too. Kurata then weeps over his uselessness and inability to protect Ayaka. He really cares. He goes on about the last time he saw Misao, how she tried to speak with him that day, the day she went missing, but he just didn't have time for her. If he only spoke to her then, maybe this whole ordeal could have been avoided. He urges Sky to help Misao find peace, and then hands her what the game calls a mysterious package. It's hands. They belong to Misao. It's Misao's hands. Apparently Kurata found them while looking around earlier. Maybe that's why he was attacked. We accept the package and head out. Toma's body is still slung over our shoulder. We should probably find him a safe spot, and well, a girl did have a bed in her library room, so we take Toma up there, and despite a girl's fear of humans, he's allowed to rest there, under her protection. We've also still got the CD-ROM, so we might as well use that in the computer next to Satome's body. A walk up some stairs, we slide the disc in, and I decide to increase security, resulting in... Intruder detector exterminating at once. What the hell?
Yoink!
What the?
Bitch, my shoe. My penny loafer.
Whatever the hell that was. This time, let's decrease the security and head back to the now laser-free lab. We look around, head through a door, and hey, it's Yoshino. That's the bully girl, who is strapped to a medical examination table. We take our time looking around before talking to her. Naturally, she's a bit frazzled by everything going on and begs for Sky to help. But Sky's got a few conditions. The main one being that Yoshino has to promise to stop bullying people if she wants aid. And Sky takes her sweet time in explaining this to Yoshino. So by the time she agrees, they are out of time as some mad scientist who might have been a father begins to approach. With what sounds like a chainsaw revving, Sky decides to hide. Unsuccessfully.
Oh, we're mandrakes.
We're so cute. Several times. Oh, I don't like that. My friends and I weren't exactly sure how to survive this via hiding, so we decided to leave Yoshino for the time being and head out. Where we then remember that there was another set of stairs leading downwards on the first floor. Those stairs lead to a cave with some plant enrichment. Taking that, we end up creating a new path to a wall that needs to be seemingly bombed. Maybe there's like a pipe bomb in the school somewhere. We'll check the girls' bathroom first. Sadly, no pipe bomb, only a ghost girl and some coins that we can use to buy tea in a can at the cafeteria. That's not tea. With our sports drink, I deduced that only a based alpha male like Toma would be strong enough to drink it, so we head back to a girl's room and offer it to him. He pounds it and nearly chokes because for some reason there was a key in the can. He goes back to sleep and we have a new key. Some more exploration happens, I die, and my friend Maya proves herself to be based.
Okay, just turn around. I'm not looking.
Yeah, no, she just shoved her tongue through our heart. Thank you, Maya. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're contributing to this team.
That's what we were all thinking.
No, it's not! I find a bat, meaning the vase from the very start of the game is finally destroyed, giving us a key to the emergency exit. Which is a lie. This key is to the gymnasium. And that's our next stop. In here we find Kudo, that pro-tech sounding guy from the start who's on a stage with lights? It's kinda weird, but I think I saw something like this in My Hero Academia. So yeah, I'll accept it, I guess. Kudo somehow injured his leg and on stage explains that he was childhood friends with Misao. When they were kids, he always protected her and stood up for her. However, come middle school, people started to pick on Kudo for being friends with a girl. so he distanced himself from her. Now in high school, he can only watch as Misao was bullied. Misao's spirit arrives to speak to Kudo in person, where she claims to have never felt a thing for him, and orders him to die, causing the stage lights to fall, crushing Kudo, killing him instantly as the curtains close. Sky approaches and parts the curtains, and Kudo's soul seemingly starts guiding her, taking her back to the 3rd floor. There it gets an item for us, a broken hair tie, and a memory. One where Kudo stands up to Yoshino for bullying a male student, telling her to knock it off. In response, Yoshino proceeds to walk to the other side of the room and start bullying Misao instead, which Kudo watches and does nothing. He'll stand up for a stranger, but not for someone he cares about, which is kinda scummy. I can see why he got cursed. After that, my friends and I decide that we've got the plant enrichment, so we should probably use that on the seeds we planted. We do that, and hey, it starts growing. It'll just need some time to pass. We wait. Nothing happens. So I feel like we need to be productive. We give saving Yoshino a second chance. This time we try hiding in the cabinet, but Sky's pigtails occupy far too much room, and she doesn't fit. We give up on hiding there and end up finding a scalpel. And this scalpel is useful because there's a lovely looking plus-size bear back there with ample pigtail room. We have a lovely hiding spot, just in the nick of time too, as a mad-looking father on a Segway arrives. Yoshino doesn't make it, and Sky is pretty okay with that. Her death also unlocks a memory. In the girls' bathroom, Misao is being attacked by some random girls being led by Yoshino. Misao manages to keep her composure and makes a scolding remark towards Yoshino, having realized that all of this abuse is only because Yoshino wants to be the one dating Toma. She envies Misao, because in this moment, Misao is still dating him. So Misao remarks that after all this, Toma will never want to date Yoshino, and that Kama pisses Yoshino off so badly that she beats Misao harder, and then proceeds to strip her and take compromising photos. The memory ends and we're free to explore around. Also, we're covered in blood. We need to wash that off. I'm gonna fast forward about 20 minutes as Sky wanders the school with no rhyme or reason until she walks to the back of the school and steps into this stream. This automatically allows her to wash off and opens the doors to the shrine, which doesn't actually do anything for us. 10 more minutes pass, and in that time we realize there's a puzzle involving placing white lilies on 3 desks in 3 different classrooms. But we don't have lilies, so we gotta somehow speed up the time so the seeds we planted can grow. Get more of these though.
Move the hands.
Oh my god, that's so stupid. That's so dumb. I love that. I think that's really funny and a great puzzle. 10 out of 11. Still a little out of place. That gave us purple lilies, and a quick trip to the art room will convert them into white lilies. Place them on the 3 special desks, and we get a creepy message to go to the roof. Go there, and we are gifted a torn ribbon tie. Some more hapless searching occurs, and we find ourselves back to the lab where we realize that we can now use the computer in there, and we can get 2 little mandrakes that are in the tubes. One of them is Da Bomb, so we take him downstairs near the rocks, hit him with the bat, and bam, we got a whole new path. Head down there, dodge some Z-slurs, take a leap of faith, and hey, we got some mighty boots. Which is the penultimate final item we need to put Misao to rest. Back in the lab, the other tube has a salt mandrake, who we kinda need, so we knock him out and then blend him for some salt. With that salt, we can now scare off this ghost who keeps infinitely looping us that I have not mentioned until now. That in turn gives us access to the piano room, where Sky becomes the captive audience to a wonderful show. And I think I know what you want.
Look at the violin. Cello.
It's so beautiful. What a banger. The ghost then gives us a locked box as thanks, and with the key we got from Toma's Sigma Sip, we pop that box open and acquire a warding bell. With the bell, we take one final trip back to the lab, kill this head thing, and enter the back door. Here we can find Misao's blazer, and that is the final item needed to put her to rest. But there's also a puzzle in this room, and if we solve that, we arrive in a secret room with the male protagonist, and a message. Yeah, I'll explain this later. Swearsies. So we'll head out, and since at this point we have all of Misao's belongings, we can put her to rest and make our way towards the shrine out back. Inside there are 6 tables, one for each thing. Sky sets the belongings down and nothing happens. Confused, we decide to speak with Onigawara, who explains that in order for Misao's curse to be lifted, it requires a sacrifice. 4 to be specific. Ayaka doesn't count. The victims need to be people who have earned Misao's resentment. So Satome, Kudo, and Yoshino make 3. And aside from Sky, Onigawara, and a girl, the only other living people are Toma and Mr. Kurata. So the sacrifice must be one of them. Sky's new goal set, I convene with my council.
Go beat that bitch up.
You guys are quick on the trigger, so...
Yeah. Hit him with a bat.
Apologize in the afterlife.
Z. Boom.
Having practiced our swing with Toma, we make our way back outside towards the shrine. With everything now offered and the correct number of sacrifices, Misao's belongings begin to glow. And Mr. Kurata arrived to see if Sky had succeeded. The belongings all rise and center on her, which allows her to see one more memory. Misao's darkest, and the moments before her death. Ahem. Interjection. What I'm about to describe will include the rather unpleasant topic of SA on a minor. If you don't wish to hear about that, then please skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen now. You'll still get the full story, promise. I'll wait. Alrighty, those who do not wish to hear this are gone, so let us proceed. Earlier we saw the memory where Yoshino was attacking Misao in the girls' bathroom, but that's not where the bullying stopped, because continuing from there we see that it was only the first act of Yoshino's vileness. After stripping Misao, she locks her in the girls' stall, and arranges for a random male student to help himself to Misao's body while she's trapped. The abuse continues well into the night, and by the time the school closes down, Misao is still in the bathroom, weeping from pain and disgust. Her tears alert Mr. Kurata, who helps Misao out of the bathroom and takes her to the teacher's office. There, he sits her down and listens to the tragedy that has befallen her, which contradicts what Mr. Kurata said earlier. In this office, he provides Misao with comfort and consoles her, calling Misao better than other girls. He then gets closer to her, breathes on her, and says that he adores girls like her. He wraps his arms around her, admires her hands, and plans to kiss on her. In response, Misao slaps him away and tries to run, only to find that the door has been locked. Mr. Kurata pursues her and eventually overpowers her. He forces himself on her. Later, as Misao lies on the ground unconscious, Kurata screams in anger that she never should have rejected him. Then he drags Misao's body back to the bathrooms and cuts her hands off before killing her, carrying her body behind the school and burying it. So yeah, Misao was found in the school after hours. There, Kurata found her, attempted to do something really bad, and when he was rejected, he killed Misao. And because her body was buried on school grounds, her curse was able to take effect due to the immense rage she held over the abuse. With that, the memory comes to an end, and Sky finds herself on the roof with Kurata. Sky, in disbelief, states plainly that Kurata killed Misao, and Kurata, upon realizing that he's been found out, begins to approach her. Sky pleads that she won't tell anyone about what he did, trying to find an opportunity to escape, but it falls on deaf ears, as with one quick motion, Sky is no more. Sometime later, as life returns to normal, Kurata comforts yet another bullied girl while admiring her hands, implying that the cycle of what led to Misao's curse will happen yet again, bringing us to credits. But we are not going to watch them now because we want a better ending. So let's rewind back to before my friends chose blonde violence. This time we'll kill Kurata because of how sus he is. Like, the Ayaka thing is pretty weird, especially with how fast she dies and how Ayaka was traumatized. Combine that with him seemingly having Misao's hands after we're told he might have a hand fetish, killing him seems pretty justified. So we enter the infirmary, channel the spirits of the Morio warriors, and bada boom. That dealt with, Sky heads back to the shrine. This time, Toma shows up when everything rises. After we see Misao's really bad memories, we find Toma and Sky on the school roof safe and sound. And with no Kurata to push Sky off the roof, she bolts to the back of the school and with her hands digs Misao out of the ground, accomplishing the mission, having finally found her. Misao's spirit appears and thanks Sky for all of her efforts, then disappearing as quickly as she appeared, taking her body with her, finally allowing the sun to shine and returning the school to complete normality. A few days later, Sky decides to pay the student council a visit in order to thank President Onigawara and Vice President a girl for all their aid. However, these two apparently don't exist, as the student council president is just some random guy we've never met. Weird. But all's well that ends well, cause despite the fact that Satomi, Ayaka, Kudo, Yoshino, and Kurata are dead, no one seems to care or even remember who they are, so they might as well have never existed. Sky muses about this in class, but decides to brush it off. After all, they weren't good people, and Ayaka was her best friend. No big deal. It's then that Misao's spirit reappears behind Toma, and the game cuts to credits, giving us the normal ending. As the credits roll, I find myself with a bit of reflection because, well, when I was younger, I thought this game was my favorite RPG Maker horror game of all time. I liked it more than Mad Father and even Blank Dream. But after replaying with a fresh coat of paint, it really didn't hold up. The game is super simplistic, with the plot not being nearly as interesting or mature as my child brain thought it once was. My mind kinda hyped it up a little too much. I'll elaborate on this a bit more because we've still got an extra mode to play through and a few more editions of Misao left. Ahem, interruption. Hiya, cooler looking zombie here. Getting over a bit of a cold so I might sound different. I just wanted to say that if you're enjoying the video, please consider subscribing and liking. This video was a lot of work and I want to make more things like this, and it really helps the channel. Back to video now. So let's play Truth, the game's kinda sorta epilogue. Entering this mode, we are told to name our protagonist once more, and instead of Sky, we had a few new ideas. So meet you, girl. And yes, for the remainder of Truth, that is her name. Beginning us proper, we see a warm memory of the first time you, girl, spoke to Misao. It's a rather brief interaction where Misao stops to help her find her contact. The memory is cut short as someone calls out to you, girl, and she awakens in the final area of Mad Father. This place looks a little used, not gonna lie. You, girl, walks forward finding 3 gravestones and Onigawara, who has pretty much dropped the whole student council president shtick. He says that it's within his power to free the souls of Kudo, Satome, Yoshino, and allow them to be reborn, basically giving them a second chance at life. However, in order to do that, he needs you, girl, to free them from the eternal punishment that Misao is subjecting them to. Our goal clear, we set out on our second journey, and start off by saving Satome. Here we get to see both a memory and the hell that Satome is living through. Memory-wise, it's an interaction between Satome and Misao in the bathroom, where Satome gives Misao her handkerchief because Misao forgot hers. It looks like an act of kindness, but in actuality, it's completely fake. Satome isn't a nice person. She pretends to be one. After all, she's the one who posted Misao's text for all to see and brags about it in private to her friends. So, kinda gross. The scene then shifts to a lunch date between Satome and Toma, which is then interrupted by Misao's sudden arrival. With a few words, Misao beckons Toma to her side, and they just start making out, cucking Satome, who can only watch in shock. You, girl, approaches Satome and tells her to snap out of it, asking why she even cares about Toma. He's just some womanizing dumbass. I mean, he literally left Satome to die and didn't give a crap about her other than like maybe one dialogue. Hearing this, Satome finally has it and asks you, girl, for the baseball bat she's holding. We found one in the bathroom. Bat in hand, Satome charges towards Toma, raises it and splatters his brains against the grass, which in turn breaks her free from Misao's eternal cuck punishment, and she's reborn as a baby. 1 down, 2, potentially 3 to go. Next up is Kudo, who shows us a memory of him and Misao as little kids. It's really cute. Kudo charges in like a bull as he sees some other kid bullying Misao. Scaring the bully off, he then comforts her and walks her back home, promising that he'll protect her forever. Yet, we and Misao know that he didn't keep that promise. Misao's voice is then heard as she condemns Kudo for abandoning her, for knowingly turning a blind eye to her suffering. Her rage grows stronger and everything around us fades away to an empty black void, where further in, we see Kudo, in the center, surrounded by dozens of Misaos, each of them yelling at him to "You are sick from hell. Die. Kill yourself. They hate you. Die. You are not skilled. Spy so die. Die. You have your no hands, no bitches." So fucking stupid. Listen, Kudo really probably doesn't deserve this. Yeah, he's spineless, and it's messed up that he didn't stand up for Misao, but he's probably already doing more damage to himself than Misao is. He regrets it, and he deserves to be reborn. He's just a 15-year-old idiot. I get it. So you, girl, saved him by telling him that this isn't Misao. Misao wouldn't be saying things like, "You're not my Sigma." She's a nice girl. In fact, Misao isn't even orchestrating this torture. That part's true. Kudo is doing all of this himself. At that realization, Kudo was able to break free, which prompts some part of Misao to materialize before Kudo and apologize to him. Kudo takes responsibility for then proclaiming that he loves her, which Misao seems to reciprocate, but probably not in the way that Kudo was hoping for. And that brings this little adventure to an end, as Kudo is reborn. Before we dive into justifying saving Yoshino, we find a girl who's now going by the name Library. She's talking to us through this little scrunkle up here, and just gives her thoughts on everything we see. It's a nice little detail, but pretty unimportant. So, why should we save Yoshino? Because beating, harassing, along with organizing an SA on Misao is pretty unforgivable. Why does she deserve a second chance? I have 3 reasons. Number 1, she's 15. She's 15 and is an idiot. Number 2, on top of that, our main goal is to help Misao, and letting Misao spend all of eternity torturing someone isn't much of an afterlife, so we should get Misao out of this eternal punishment. You should never subject anyone to eternal punishment. Number 3, she's getting reborn, so the scummy person she is will be wiped away. And that's enough justification for me, so let's go save her. Touching the gravestone, you, girl, finds yourself in the boys' bathroom. You can tell based on the urinals. In here, there are 3 Misaos just beating the crap out of Yoshino, and this has been going on for a while. You, girl, feels a little bad about it, so we journey to the urinals and acquire a few coins, some salt, and a bat. We gotta deal with these Misaos, so you, girl, debates throwing salt in Misao's eyes, but that is far too cruel. So instead she bashes the girl's brains in, thrice. Yoshino saved, you, girl, comforts her, but Yoshino isn't very cognizant anymore. She can't form very coherent sentences. All you,
girl really says is that she suffered enough, and she's sure that Misao can forgive her. Which ain't true, and Misao herself pops in to dispute that claim. You girl argues with her for a bit and claims that she just wants Misao to pass on and spend eternity in some better place than the boys' bathroom. At that, Misao screams, and you girl is kicked back to the spiritual realm from Mad Father, and a reborn Yoshino is here. With those three successfully reborn, a new pathway opens, one that leads to Toma's grave. But he's not dead. However, if you remember, in the ending, Misao appeared behind him. Yeah, it turns out she dragged him into the afterlife. We'll fix that in a moment, so let's go save that murdery man Kurata. Oh hey, what's that? Ayaka's hairpin? Touching it, you, girl, sees a memory of how Ayaka died. When she was digging through Kurata's desk, she found his package, Misao's hands. At which point Kurata appeared and pushed her aside, and just started making out with Misao's hands. Like, wow, Ayaka's standing right there. Ayaka is naturally frightened, so she runs and Kurata pursues her into the nurse's office while brandishing a knife. You, girl, who at this time was going by Sky, walks in. Kurata controls the conversation and sends her right back out in search of a tranquilizer. As for why Ayaka didn't speak up or ask for help, well, she's scared. She's a deer in headlights and just couldn't force herself to act. And that gets her killed, as Kurata carves her up, and then to ensure he's not caught, he injures himself and sells the whole thing as a monster attack to Sky, ending the memory. This memory is impactful because my friends and I decided that we're not saving Kurata, and left, heading right for Toma's grave. Touching it, you girl is transported to yet another void of nothingness, where we can see Toma, resting his head on Misao's lap. Misao goes on and on about how she loves Toma despite the fact that he's just an idiot who flirts and gets with girls because it's fun. Toma's a dumbass. He doesn't mean harm intentionally, but wow, has he really caused it. Actually, every single female character except for Ayaka is tied to Toma. Misao goes back and forth on this and asks you girl to join her. Together, all three of them could be happy forever. She apparently doesn't mind sharing, but you girl refuses, and eventually Toma wakes up, and upon seeing Misao, he screams and runs off. Misao doesn't understand why. You girl then pulls out a small pocket mirror and shows Misao what she's become. A monster, a rotting corpse, which horrifies her, and she pulls away. Yet, you girl pursues and assures Misao that it wasn't fair what happened, but she's not alone, at least not right now, because you, girl, is her friend. They hug. With this assertion of friendship, Misao is able to let go of her hatred and pass on. You girl then awakens, after having fallen asleep in class, and sees a message on the board. A heartfelt thank you, presumably from Misao, who has been able to pass on to the other life. Giving us credits. And in the credits, we get to see the epilogue's epilogue, where, hey, look, Toma's still stuck in the void, we didn't pull him out. But Onigawara saves him and proceeds to revive Ayaka. Those two, along with a girl, then proceed to raise the reborn Yoshino, Kudo, and Satome. What a nice, happy ending. But we could do more. So let's reload and save that Kurata. By touching his gravestone, we see that he doesn't actually have a punishment. Instead, it's just his backstory. Which, to me, implies one of two things, maybe both. Number one being that Misao is genuinely still afraid of him, and therefore wants nothing to do with him. Option two is that Kurata's existence itself is enough punishment already. So what happens? You, girl, arrives in Kurata's home and takes a peek at his home computer, which gives us a glimpse into Kurata's life as a teacher, where every day he must struggle to contain his misogyny. He overhears Ayaka and a few girls talking about how hot and attractive they think he is, but that just pisses Kurata off and he runs off into the bathroom in anger. Here he looks himself in the mirror and rants about how those high school girls are just idiots, praising him solely for his handsome face. Though I should mention that he stormed off before they started praising his personality. That brings this memory to a close, and you, girl, is back in Kurata's room, but with company this time. We try to approach Kurata, but he vanishes, so we check out what he was looking at, a yearbook. Peering into it, we see Kurata when he was a sleep-deprived looking high schooler, and get to see another memory. Here, in high school, he's being ostracized by his peers. They make fun of his appearance, and as he walks by, are just overall rude. When he gets into class, he tries to give a girl back her handkerchief that she dropped, but she just kinda lashes out at him, saying that she can't touch anything he's touched. Everyone in class then just dogpiles on him for doing such a simple act of kindness. That's frustrating, but takes us out of the memory. We follow past Kurata out of the room, which leads us to a very narrow hallway, where the present-day Kurata awaits, bemoaning how no one accepts him. In anger, he starts advancing towards you, girl. Naturally, we run away, but the door back to the room isn't working, because now it leads to a closet. I am presented with an option, and I choose death. Oh wait. I hated that. I hated that sound. A redo later, I decide that staying in the small contained room probably isn't the best idea. So we exit, and are now in a living— Oh my god, is that a cat? Talking to the little guy, we get a very kind but tragic memory. As a high schooler, Kurata finds an injured cat, who he desperately tries to care for, but is told by the vets to give up. The cat is gonna die no matter what. And that's what happens. The cat doesn't make it. But Kurata tries his very best to care for the cat, and was able to at least ensure that the cat's remaining life was as comfortable as possible. Which is something I can praise. The memory ends as Kurata mourns the cat's passing, looking over a gravesite he made for the little guy. We then proceed to the remaining door, where we are presented with the final memory. Here, teenage Kurata is eating his lunch alone, away from others. Just like me, for real for real. And like, this is so dumb, but people bullying him, like, oh my god, they went out of their way to track down his secret quiet lunch spot, just to make fun of the guy for 2 minutes. Like, why? You spent more time getting here. Why waste your time on that? What the— do you have nothing else going on in your life? It's dumb. But it sells how miserable Kurata is. Anyway, the interesting part comes when a girl appears. No, not her. Currently her name is Library. This girl is Takano. She offers to spend time with Kurata, and decides to eat lunch with him every day because, as she puts it, she wants to protect him. Now, the thing is, Takano and Kurata don't really become friends. They're acquaintances, at most. They merely occupy the same space at lunch and eat in silence. Why don't they talk? Well, from the looks of it, Takano really isn't a very talkative person, and Kurata has no riz, so communication was never an option here. However, Kurata is fine with that. In fact, he's a little more than fine with it, and before long, probably not even a full school year, he starts to admire Takano's hands, and then one random day he tries to confess to her. Confess that he's in love with her. Note, he reaches out to touch her hands, but considering that she barely knows him, Takano responds like any normal person would and pulls away. Not harshly or violently, she doesn't even scream or admonish him. Instead, she apologizes, telling him that she wasn't getting close to date him. She doesn't like him that way. She was only spending time with him because she felt bad for him. And then, cause it's getting weird, she quietly says, "We should stop meeting," which is reasonable. But this is absolutely gutting for Kurata, who lashes out and tackles Takano to the ground. He screams in anguish about how no one wants to accept him. This quickly attracts the attention of a teacher, who breaks things up, and the memory ends. You, girl, then appears in a dark hallway where the sound of a blade carving into flesh can be heard. Following the noise, we find present-day Kurata angrily stabbing his knife into Misao's dead body, angrily condemning the girls, I guess people in general, about only judging him based on his face. Though interestingly, he calls his face fabricated, implying that since high school he might have gotten plastic surgery. Either way, U-Girl approaches and listens to him rant about his unfair life, how people judge him based on his physical appearance, how even now, as a well-liked teacher, it's only because of his face. But U-Girl dismantles his argument by stating that students like him because of his reliable personality. He was able to make a good impression on students thanks to his newfound charisma and the kindness he showed them. His issue was never his face, it was how he carried himself and treated himself. And with this, he lets go and is able to move on, becoming reincarnated as a cat? I like it. Be better as a little guy. From there, we head to Toma's grave, do the whole Misao song and dance with the mirror, and yeah, nothing changed. The girls smile, a thank you, and credits. Nothing special. So yeah, that's a pretty anticlimactic ending. But I refuse to let it end like this, and shall now go back in time and play Misao from 2017 when it was re-released on Steam for the first time. Cause yeah, this video ain't done. But this time, instead of taking you through the game step by step, we're just gonna speed and zoom through it, only stopping to examine things that are different, unique, and interesting, or chic, and synergy. Also, this is a no friend zone, so from here on out until the end, I am by myself. So one last little intermission before we start. I may sound different because partway into the making of this video, old laptop broke, and the new one might not be fully set up. I've already had to re-record what you're about to listen to once, so we'll see if this is the one that sticks. Apologies. So let's boot up a game, name our protagonist, who's female again, and I think U-Girl is a perfectly good name. Right off the bat, we can see that the art style is different, specifically the sprites, and I'll be honest, this is my least favorite version of Misao. It looks way too cute. Like, these little sprites are adorable. Like, look at U-Girl's eyes, they're massive, it's so silly looking. Even other characters like Onikawara aren't safe from this. Just look at him, he's adorable. He looks so dopey. And the script in this version is exactly the same as the one in the 2024 version, so there's nothing new there. Game starts. U-Girl hears a voice calling out to her, it's Misao, she wants to be found. Bam, we're at school. Bam, character introductions, just more adorable looking. Bam, school is now in the Hell Dimension, and we are off on the adventure yet again. But this time with the same layout, just a few things moved around. Like, in Library's Aya room, the clock that we used to fast forward time in the last game, or I guess the new game? Yeah, that doesn't exist. Instead, just using the plant enrichment thing gives us lilies. Oh, and the Hanako game, you know, the toilet ghost? In this version, it's very difficult. I died at least 4 times. Split apart because I gave up partway through thinking I might need an item, but no, not items, just more skill. This part here might sound a little rambly, but like, what do you expect me to do? Just play the past 40 plus minutes of video you just watched again? Cause not much has changed in this version. We still find all of Misao's things in the same place. There's a thing in the locker, a thing underground after bombing a wall and doing a leap of faith, a thing on the roof after planting some painted lilies, a thing Kudo hands to us after dying and his spirit guiding us, a thing on a doll behind the lab, and of course Kurata still gives us Misao's hands. I could go on, but let's just kill Kurata again and get the exact same ending.
watching the same cutscenes as the 2024 version, giving us an ending with no changes whatsoever. Not very interesting, I know. This version is very much just a different coat of paint with a few little changes that are pretty unimportant. Let's cover truth. Our protag this time around is Rizzler, and that is the only difference. Truth is literally the exact same as in the 2024 version, so I played through this version again for no reason. Ahem, that's another anticlimactic ending. So, Misao, 2014-ish, I think. Quick history thing here, you see, Misao originally came out in 2011, but I'm not talking about that version. I'm talking about Misao 3.0, the third main version to release and more or less the final version, before it was put on Steam. And this is my second favorite version of Misao, so let's dive into it, this time with our standard protag, Sky. Unlike the past two versions we've played, this one is a bit more different. For starters, the intro is quite a bit shorter. Sky still wakes up and exposits about Misao, goes to school, and we meet the cast in a brief scene. School goes to a hell dimension, and then, instead of having the whole chasing Misao segment, we just skip straight to waking up in the office with Onigawara, who explains the whole sitch. And yes, I do know that in both the 2017 and 2024 version, you get the option to skip that whole segment, but come on, it's a difference. Oh yeah, also, original to this version is the lack of sick blazers on our student staff. Plus, there's a whole different art style, much more early RPG Maker looking, and every character is just so small. I love it, look at them. So Sky heads out of Onigawara's office, and we see that the layout of the school is really super different. Like, wowzers, there's a barricade to the left of us. And to the right of us is the principal's office, which is pretty similar to the past two versions, where these rooms were on the top floor together. The thorns in the principal's office still kill you though. Downstairs is the first floor, which is similar but different. Like, there's no cafeteria, so the vending machine is just in the hallway. When going out to the shrine, there's no stream, only a well, and if we go down that well, it leads to a cave with a few boulders that need to be beaten down with. We'll be back. Inside the school, we can find Satome and Toma in the boys' bathroom, and just like before, Toma runs away, so Sky grabs a fire extinguisher to heroically charge into battle. Satome still dies, but there's no memory of what she did to Misao. Since we're speeding along, intermission to inform you that this time around, I named library Aya, but no fun dialogue this time. Sad. What's even sadder though is right here when I let Kurata out of the closet and make the biggest mistake of my life. You see, in the newer versions, there's like this little sparkle in the locker to show that Kurata dropped something. But in this old version, there is literally nothing to indicate that. And the item Kurata drops is, like all items, very essential. To understand how bad this was, the recording for this game was about 50 minutes. At least 25 of those minutes was just me looking for this key. And around 10 minutes was spent on the bathroom girl ghost, cause she's brutal in this version too. Eventually though, I did beat her and got coins from her toilet. And since we saved Kurata, let's go get Ayaka killed. Talk to him in the nurse's room, fail to find a tranquilizer, oh my gosh, he died! Kurata hands over his pack. Oh god, that is just her hands. On the floor. Bleeding. Okay. Yeah, so the biggest difference in this version is that we are actually finding Misao. Not her belongings, but her physical body. She was cut and torn apart with her body parts and organs scattered across the school. And I kinda prefer that more because it's way more edgy. Speaking of edgy, let's go see Yoshino. She is still chained up in the lab, and Sky, like in the future version, isn't too keen on helping her. The mad scientist then starts approaching, and we get the best version of this scene. Up top you can see him approach and get closer, which shows you just how limited your time is. It creates great tension that might make you panic your first time around, which I think is better than the modern version where you don't see him so you feel like you have a lot more time and a lot less urgency. However, the best part is the body. Cause there's no bear this time, it's just a really gross decaying corpse. And we have to jump into it. Afterwards, no memory, but Yoshino is gone and there's a new little guy in the test tube. For no reason in particular, I'm gonna name this little guy Yoshino 2. And we need some salt, so kill, skin, and we got salt. Which lets us into the music room, and this time the music sucks. Also, I'm realizing now that I don't need to go into the details, so let's just smash the vase upstairs, giving us the key to the emergency exit, which this time actually does lead to an exit. See? The outside world. We got buildings. Hey look, it's Kudo! We'll talk later. The underground area is also pretty different too, because this time we have no bombs. Sky just smashes her way through with a bat. And the water's down here to wash off too, so instead of opening the shrine, we get Misao's severed head. Yeah. And Kudo's Uber is ready to pick us up from the bathroom, and he's with legs too. Along the way we pick up Misao's eyes, heart, and brain. We put him on the shrine, it don't work, we go kill Kurata, bonk bonk. Shrine works this time, and we get a whole bunch of memories. Because every single bad thing that happened to Misao is just beamed into Sky's brain. Tsutome's bullying, Hiya, cooler looking editing Zaman here. It turns out, I lied. There is no Kudo scene in the base game. Yeah, Kudo's scene is relegated to truth. His only scene in the base game then is just him saying that he was Misao's friend before he got run over by a car. Kudo's cowardice, Yoshino's vileness, and Kurata's heinous ending. And in this version, Kurata did not bury her, he just scattered her body across the school, and kept her eyes in his locker, and her hands in his desk. We've gone through this ending twice now, so let's just do truth. And aside from a pro tag with a new name, and getting a little opening, like, hey look, she's outside with these shadow men hitting the gritty. It's more or less the same aside from a few scenes like Kudo and Misao in middle school. Yeah, we had that middle school scene, but there's also his scene where he just doesn't help Misao at all in high school. And as we found out in the earlier versions we played, which are the future versions, 2017 and 2024, yeah, they rearranged it. It was rearranged so that the scene in high school was played after Kudo's death. And that makes for much better pacing, I think. But I'll save this scene for the last run we do. Truth is literally the same yet again, so that's another disappointing conclusion. Let's jump over to Misao version 2.0 and hit the start. Okay, listen, is it really worth it for me to go over the previous two versions if there's no major differences aside from the layout being different, or oh wow, that room is like bigger now. Whoa. Version 2.0 does add the male protagonist, who I haven't talked about yet, and I could do a whole playthrough with him, but I think the video would suffer, because it's just an inferior version of the 2024 male route. It's not worth it. Same for version 1, it's just a less polished version with less content that's a bit more jank. Playing version 3.0 is worth it, but then going back and playing the earlier two versions isn't. Version 3 is the final idealized form of the past two, and that makes sense. Things were added and built on top of it with no charm being lost. For a better example, comparing Misao version 1 to Misao version 3.0 is not like comparing original Persona 3 to Persona 3 Reload. It's more like comparing original Persona 3 to Persona 3 FES. It is just an updated version and not a whole new realized adventure. Persona 3 FES gave us Persona 3, with new social links, added scenes, and some gameplay changes. Misao 3.0 does the same thing, adding more onto the original. And for that reason, I don't think I should waste your time by going back and covering them. It's pretty pointless. But despite the fact that this is page 29 of the script, you can tell by the video length that we aren't done. To keep this Persona 3 illusion going, let's interject some Persona 3 Portable, because that game had an option for the female protagonist, which Misao also has, except it's an optional male protagonist. And unlike the FemC, the female protag of P3P, I think the male protagonist of Misao is absolutely essential to getting the full value of this game, because his presence changes quite a few things about the story, mainly because he is a very different protagonist than the female one. So let's go through this story one final time in what I think is the best rendition of Misao, period. We'll be going back to the 2024 version and occasionally dipping to the 3.0 version for a few little noteworthy differences. So let's name our protag one last time. Oh yeah, and I also got a friend with me this time again, Maya. She's back and she's here to name our Giga Chad protag.
John.
Alrighty, thank you, Maya.
Quick thinking.
Just like Sky, John wakes up after Misao calls out to him. Go to school, character intros get thrown into a hell dimension, and here we realize the true power of our protag's name. Our main man here is so forgettable. No one can ever remember his name. John Anime, full legal name, is not memorable. I love it. Let's go fail to save Satome. Done. Go say hi to Crinkle. Done. Save Kurata from Locker-kun. Done. Go save Yoshino. And stop. Because this time, it's different. When, John agrees to help her, he immediately tries untying her bindings, unlike the female protag. The female protag just stood there and did nothing, while, John starts helping, and while undoing the rope, asks Yoshino to stop bullying people, explaining why it's wrong. But he just doesn't have enough time to undo her bindings, so he has to hide in the bear and let Yoshino die. Upon seeing her blood everywhere, he apologizes and expresses guilt for failing to save her, unlike the female protag, who made a joke of it, giving us our first hint that our protag here isn't just a gender-swapped version of the girl. He is his own character with a different, softer personality, which will change a few things around. And this personality was present in the 3.0 version too. Back to game, John is covered in blood, so let's go say hi to Mr. Kurata. Yeah, he can just kill you if you scare him, and if you get this scene before playing Truth and learning about Ayaka's death, it would make discerning him as the villain a bit easier. To avoid that, we need to wash off the blood by heading outside first, but I want to go underground first. Also, I haven't gotten a chance to say this because I forgot to add it earlier in the script, but I really like this aspect of the game where there's not really a correct order of operations. You can just collect the various Misao items in any order, which is great for the mystery puzzle game that this is, as by just wandering around the school, you will eventually solve it. It's just a matter of time and some pretty good game design. To explore the underground, we need to set up a bomb mandrake from the lab and put him on the rocks. Then we have to hit him with the bat to set it off. But, John can't. He can't bring himself to hit the little guy. He lowers his bat after raising it and resolves to find a different way with less violence, giving the mandrake a little pat as an apology for what he nearly did. But we get the path anyway. Our boy here is such a nice guy. Way too gentle for what's going on in this school. But he does snag Misao's boots and then earns the right to bathe. With that, we'll hit the fast forward button, gather all the things, kill Kudo along the way, fail to end the ritual, and be told that we need to kill someone as the fourth sacrifice. John isn't sure if he's capable of it, but sets out to try. And try we do as I decide to pay Toma a visit. John raises his bat high and he can't do it. He can't kill his classmate. He won't. Even when his evil female counterpart talks to him, telling him to raise the bat and kill, he fights against the evil influence and prevails, apologizing, saying that he can't take a life to save Misao. He can't compromise like that. So he goes back to the shrine and tries to communicate with Misao, offering himself as a sacrifice, trying to reason that he's also responsible for her death. They weren't friends. He never called out to her. His inaction also hurt her. Our boy is at least somewhat responsible. Just let him die, because with Ayaka dead, he doesn't have any friends and he has no family. But these arguments, while heard, are not given a response. Defeated, John heads out and runs into a panicked Crinkle. Apparently, a surge of evil spirits have flooded into the school, tearing everything apart. The only option now is to find a way to escape. And looking through the school, yeah, it looks way more haunted now. Kinda creepy. As we rush through the halls, we make for the entrance where Toma and Kurata have already ran to, but there's no way out. Past the entrance is just a drop into an abyss. Our boys, Kurata and Crinkle, decide to bunker down here and hide from the spirits while trying to come up with a plan. Everything is shared, especially about how a sacrifice is needed. However, surprisingly, Kurata speaks up and says that he'll be the sacrifice, stating that he wants to protect his students. Our main man, John, speaks up and says that he won't stand for it and watch yet another person die. They need to work together and find another way. Everyone comes together. And Toma gets a really good introspective line about the three deceased, saying that while they were dumbasses, they were still his friends, which applies to Misao too, because Toma himself isn't malicious. He's just an idiot who hurt Misao with his flippant attitude and carelessness, so he sets out to save Misao too. This scene, however, is interrupted as evil spirits pull up and drag Kurata and Toma towards the abyss. They are left clinging on the cliffside, and, John needs to act. But he freezes, unsure of who to help first. Mr. Kurata then urges him to save Toma first, which we do, but then we're left without time to save Kurata, who plummets to his death after ensuring the safety of his two students. This change surprised me a lot, because it's different from version 3.0. In that version, the male protag cannot kill either Toma or Kurata. If he tries to kill Kurata there, the will of the female protag takes over and does the killing for him. When it comes to killing Toma in 3.0, he falters and runs out of the room, only to hear a noise and come back to a library who has slaughtered Toma. But this new scene at the entrance is brilliant and shows us more of Kurata and supports my theory that he's just misogynistic. His problem is with those of the female gender. Toma and, John are fine. Plus, he only ever says stupid girls, not stupid students. Girls, they're the one to irritate him. He's able to function normally, but when it comes to females, he lets it blind him and overtake his more noble traits. Like, Kurata was definitely serious about being the sacrifice, and he willingly let himself die so we could save Toma. He isn't a complete piece of trash, but he's still an awful and disgusting person who should not be praised or forgiven. It just happens that he's more complex than we thought. He's still a scumfuck. And from there we get the regular Misao ending, and dive right into truth with our new protagonist, Dog. Yeah, that one's all me. I am very creative. This time around, it begins with a scene of Misao climbing a tree in order to save a cat when, Dog steps in and offers to lend her a hand. But things go awry and she ends up falling with the cats, and thankfully lands on our main man, allowing them to exchange some words that are pretty cute. Misao gets embarrassed and runs off to return the cat, while, Dog is left a little confused, but still upbeat. From there, truth continues as normal. It's up to us to free the souls of the deceased from Misao's torment and then Misao herself. Except this time we get a few new scenes. Like when saving Kudo, there's an added scene of Misao and Kudo in middle school, where Misao looks quite silly. That hairstyle is certainly a choice. In the scene, Kudo is just being bullied for hanging out with a gross girl. Ugh. Yoshino also has an added bullying scene where Misao is on display in the art room. Satome gets a scene where we see how fake she really is. Like, she props up Misao as being pretty and all, but it's just to bait her own friends into countering and praising Satome more. It's so annoying and stupid, wow. Kurata is entirely unchanged, but he already got the scene at the entrance, so I like his ending a lot more. I was also a lot more comfortable about having him hug John at the end. It makes him a little more bearable. All of that then brings us to Misao, where as Dog confronts her, she contemplates letting Toma go in exchange for Dog staying with her. Misao in this version explains her reasoning a bit better, stating that she only brought Toma here because she doesn't want to be alone. It doesn't matter who, she just wants someone to be with her. So she asks Dog to be her boyfriend, which he rejects, saying he can't. And Misao's reaction is really interesting. She laughs weakly and says, Of course not. Not for a girl like me. It's a really humanizing moment that shows us how Misao throughout the entire game isn't some wild rage monster lashing out. No, she's fully conscious and understands the horrors that she's unleashing. Then she sees her face, runs off, and starts lashing out about her unfair death and condemns the entire class to suffer. Unless, Dog becomes her boyfriend, but our main man still refuses. He says he can't be her boyfriend because to him, she's a precious friend. He values Misao and wouldn't want to date her based on a whim or a threat like Toma. He wants to treat her right, the way she deserves to be treated, with respect. Plus, they can't just turn into lovers when they barely know each other. So they should start out as friends. And as friends, Dog promises to never let Misao be alone, because he likes her. At that, she thanks him. The two embrace, and with one last heartfelt thank you message, we can close the book for good on Misao. Now that was a lot. It was really hard to read those lines with a straight face when our protag is named, I think I've said it enough times. I really like this version of Misao. 2024 remake, Male Route. To me, it's the best one. Because our protag is such an interesting character, whose failure to save anyone really makes this game feel a lot more on track. Add onto it the added characterization of Toma and Mr. Kurata, and this game feels way more complete. Plus, his interactions with Misao feel a lot more emotionally charged, and I feel like Misao is a bit more vulnerable around our main man. That boy really did try his best to reach out to her. However, it does come at the cost of some humor. But I think that's more than a worthy trade. And, would you believe me if I said we have a few more things to talk about? Cause if we go back to Misao 3.0, after beating Truth, you get access to a nice little bonus room, where you can learn all sorts of cool little tidbits about the game and its development history, which can clarify a few things. Plus, if we combine that information with new information from Library in the 2024 re-release during Truth, we can confirm a few things. Like, number 1, Onigawara is 100% a demon. He arrived here to collect the souls of the 4 students, because Misao made a deal with him in exchange for power to exact her revenge. He calls us in Truth to free the souls so he can get them back, because Misao never held up her end of the bargain and kept them forever, to torture them. Speaking of demons, our protags, both girl and boy, are demons. Sort of. We see that the female protag naturally has red eyes like Onigawara, she just wears contacts. She's also ruthless, and in the male route, we see that she can exert some kind of supernatural power over her double. On top of that, the bonus room in 3.0 hints at this too, with this bit of text about Library being scared of humans but liking the protags because they smell like her. Our protags are artificial beings just like Library. Furthermore, in the 2024 version, remember back in the first playthrough where I looked through Library stuff? Well, in there, I silently picked up a note in a girl's library. There, it's the mad scientist discussing how he created a girl. How she was lonely, so he took some cells from his red-eyed friend, Onigawara obviously, and created twin dolls, the protags. Also, apparently Onigawara wanted to use those twin dolls for a friendship-based experiment, but only one of them. That's why, whenever you play the game, you can find the other gendered protagonist in the back of the mad scientist room, behind that hidden door. So our protags are just some kind of insurance for the whole Misao bit, which also explains why our male protags said they don't have any family, and that confirms that neither protags are human. Did you get that? I hope I broke that down well enough, and aside from that, the bonus room is just character notes. I liked it. I think that's just about everything. I've covered all of Misao, except I think the book and the Japanese versions, but those are kinda sorta out of my power. Plus, the video is already long enough, and I spent an entire month working on this between college, so Misao, is it good? I would lean towards yes. Version 3.0 is absolutely worth your time and is free. The remake on Steam does cost money, but there's enough added content there that makes it kinda worth it, even if it is a little toned down from version 3.0. I liked the corpse and the body parts, I like that a lot more. However, I must admit that the 2024 remake is most certainly the definitive version of the game. Everything, especially in the male route, just works and comes together. Plus, it's all much better paced. Yet the game does show its age with pretty weak characters, a plot that's quite bare bones, and exploration that was heavily improved upon in the creator's next work. It's Baby's first game after all, but even then, Sen did a great job, and all the additions only make it better. Also, I really do think that Misao is an important part of history, because this eventually led to us getting Mad Father, and Mad Father led to us getting a huge surge of RPG Maker games, and those games got more popularity thanks to YouTube, which eventually led to me making this video right now. And that's pretty cool. So if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. This video did take a month to make, and it was a way bigger project than I expected. My content is a bit scattered, but if you enjoyed how I covered this game, then maybe check out my video on Blank Dream, or Blight Dream. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.